Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Well, Chinese state media has just released a video of last June's Galwan clashes. This after today, for the first time, they admitted that they had lost Chinese soldiers during these clashes. Remember, 20 Indian soldiers were martyred here. However, China plays down the number of deaths of their own soldiers. A new inborn or Indian mutant corona strain in Maharashtra. A Maharashtra task force doctor tells NDTV about this new Indian strain. He says the new strain is extremely contagious. 4 Maharashtra ministers have meanwhile tested positive in just the last 48 hours. India crosses a 1 crore vaccination milestone, but the overall vaccination rate is still very, very low. In 7 states, below 50% of health workers have been vaccinated. The health minister appeals to doctors and healthcare workers to come forward and get vaccinated. After 5 days police custody, now 3 days jail for 23-year-old activist Disha Ravi. The judge agrees to the Delhi police plea for Disha jail. Meanwhile, Disha's bail hearing will come up for hearing tomorrow. NDTV exclusive, India's Metro Man to NDTV. Dr. Sridharan says he joined the BJP because it's a party of nation lovers. It's not a communal party. Our lead story tonight, Chinese state media has just released a video of the Galwan clashes which happened last June. Remember that 20 Indian soldiers were martyred in these clashes, but this video shows Chinese soldiers confronting Indian soldiers. Meanwhile, China also admitted for the first time that it lost its own soldiers in these clashes. Vishnu Shom has more. Vishnu, why exactly has China released this video? What are they trying to prove? Also with their claim today that only 4 Chinese soldiers died in these clashes.
How they are being seen, and reports which may suggest that they have emerged less than victorious in any scenario in eastern Ladakh. The context of the release of the video is an interview given by the Northern Army commander 2 days back, in which the Northern Army commander referred to a Russian media report which had said that 45 Chinese soldiers had been killed by Indian soldiers in the Galwan Valley. So today, the Chinese had reacted to that and actually for the first time revealed the names of the soldiers they said had been killed or injured in Galwan. Whether that's the actual number, because India has always believed there were very many more, the Chinese have actually done that. And now in the last little while, they've released video, and that also very selective video, showing Indian soldiers crossing the Galwan River and approaching Chinese soldiers. But I've seen that video very carefully, and that video actually shows Indian soldiers well within Indian territory and trying to move in the direction of what is called Patrol Point 14. That is the extent of patrolling by Indian soldiers, and that's where they're stopped by the Chinese. There are Chinese attack dogs over there. What the Chinese don't show in this video is that their soldiers were also carrying maces laced with barbed wire, which they used to hit our soldiers in that very violent series of clashes.
Absolutely.
And I think what's really worrying, Sonia, is this comes just a day before the disengagement process is supposed to move to the next level. That is tomorrow, when India and China start trying to disengage in Depsang, in Gogra, in Hot Springs, all the other areas. And that disengagement process thus far has gone off quite well. So let's hope that that doesn't slow down.
So, Vishnu, what's also important in this aspect is that what is the Indian Army response? Are we likely to release any kind of video as well? And the point you're making that the Chinese trying to put out their narrative, but Russia, which the Northern Army commander quoted, has said that at least 45 Chinese soldiers could have died in those clashes in June last year.
Well, in a situation like this, I think, calm heads on both sides, so very important. If there is this perception battle game which goes on between India and China, then the larger issue of the de-escalation potentially gets affected. And to your question on whether the army has reacted, thus far there has been no Indian Army reaction to this video. I think calm minds need to see through the process that starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Not what has happened. We want to move away from that. Our video versus their video. We've seen this in the past with fairly disastrous consequences when things escalated after the release of video. Now the effort is de-escalation. Let's hope that works.
Right, the 10th round of talks between India and China tomorrow as well, as you pointed out. Thanks, Vishnu. But let's go across to another story which NDTV is tracking very carefully. And this is worrying because India has seen 13,193 new cases in the last 24 hours. That's the highest in the last 3 weeks. That surge is now mainly because of the Maharashtra numbers. Punjab, as well, as we can see, is actually going up, and high numbers in Kerala. So just Maharashtra and Kerala pushing up India's weekly average to, as we can see today, to over 11,800. That's 5.5% up over the previous day's average. Now, that may not look very high, but it's the highest since the 1st of January. So the Indian government, health officials will be tracking that very carefully. And just look at the latest Maharashtra numbers which have just come out. Maharashtra reported 6,612 cases in the last 24 hours. Now, that's almost 1,000 higher than yesterday. Mumbai, 823 cases in the last 24 hours. Again, that's almost 100 more cases than yesterday. So we can see that in Maharashtra, cases really going up, and in Mumbai as well. Just let's look at the highest percentage increase in the top 5 states of India, which is the percentage is the highest. Kerala, we can see the increase still going up, 47.47%, Maharashtra 0.22%, followed by Punjab, Gujarat and Chhattisgarh. Even the percentage in deaths increase almost parallels that. Maharashtra, we can see, had 38, it's not a percentage but absolute numbers. Maharashtra 38 deaths on February 18th, Kerala 14, Punjab 10, Karnataka 6 and Tamil Nadu 6. So the big worry really, and this is what a Maharashtra doctor who's part of the state's Corona Task Force has told NDTV exclusively, is there a new Indian strain, a new inborn strain which is behind the spike in cases? Just look at how much the cases have gone up in Amravati. Rishika has this wall explaining what this new Indian strain actually is.
It appears to be a de novo or an inborn strain or an Indian strain, and even Yavatmal has reported another strain. If they are found to be more transmissible, certainly it is a cause for worry, and a micro-containment strategy will have to be put in place. But beyond that, one good thing is that the death rate is very low. And second thing is India has a very good recovery rate.
Maharashtra is seeing a worrying surge in COVID-19 numbers. New rules have been put in place in Mumbai. In Amravati, Yavatmal and Akola, there are new COVID-19 restrictions that have been put in place. Maharashtra COVID task force members have told NDTV that the new virus mutations are behind this surge, and that these new mutations could in fact be inborn. This could be an Indian strain that we're looking at and not necessarily linked to the UK, South African or Brazilian strains. Well, here's what we know so far. Highly transmissible COVID-19 mutations have been found in Maharashtra. 4 cases of the highly transmissible E484K strain confirmed in Amravati, which, remember, is currently seeing a positivity rate of 53%. The N447K mutation has been found in Yavatmal. These new strains do cause regular COVID, but they could be more transmissible. Maharashtra COVID Task Force says that micromanagement strategy and micro-containment strategy is needed to curb the spread. So what is this E484Q mutation? Well, while experts are still trying to understand this Indian variant, here's what we know so far about this mutation that has been found in the UK, Brazilian and South African strains as well. This mutation makes the virus more transmissible. It enables the virus to resist antibodies. It can also enable the virus to infect those people who already have immunity, and it also increases the chances and possibilities of reinfection of COVID-19. The million-dollar question that is facing us is, will the vaccines in India be effective against these new mutations?
And just one indication of perhaps how contagious or how fast this virus is spreading, that in Maharashtra, 4 ministers have tested positive in just the last 48 hours. There is, of course, a larger number, but this includes Maharashtra's Health Minister Rajesh Tope, Jayant Patil, the Water Resource Minister, and of course the Food and Drug Administration Minister, the Bachu Kadu as well, the Maharashtra Cabinet Minister, Eknath Khadse, who's just gone from the BJP to the NCP, and Raksha Khadse, BJP MP, his daughter. So we can see how contagious that actually is. So now the big focus for India, because Maharashtra's transmission rise is extremely worrying. The big worry, of course, will be the vaccinations. Now, India's crossed 1 crore vaccinations. That's a big milestone. We're administering an average of nearly 3 lakh doses every day. But look at it, the percentage of per 100 people, look at it compared to India's population. So if you look at it compared to the global COVID-19 vaccine coverage, Israel is topping at 81.78%, followed by the UAE, UK, USA. look where India is. We're actually behind Canada, to which we're actually sending vaccines, and Brazil. We're just 0.74%. So that really is the big challenge, how to step this up. And in fact, today the health minister has appealed to doctors and healthcare workers to come forward and actually not believe rumors and get vaccinated. This, as latest figures showed, that in 7 states, less than 50% of healthcare workers have got vaccinated.
COVID cases rising again after the lows of a few months ago. The weekly average up 69% in Maharashtra, 43% in Punjab, 32% in Jammu and Kashmir and 20% in Haryana. And as the fear of variants looms, the race to vaccinate has become all the more important. Worryingly, some states which are seeing spikes are also seeing a low rollout of vaccinations. In Punjab, only 38% of the target group has been vaccinated in more than a month since the rollout began. In Maharashtra, it's 54%. Maharashtra, in fact, is not even in the top 15 states.
What is going in the Kerala and Maharashtra? What we are feeling that there may be a different variant. So if these mutants are going to be there, then definitely the second wave may be more severe.
In order to increase the pace of vaccinations, the government plans to increase the current 11,000 daily vaccination sessions by 5 times, and the health minister spelled out a deadline.
हमारे डॉक्टर्स, नर्सेज, पैरामेडिक्स सब लोग कोशिश करके 25 तारीख से पहले जब मॉक-अप राउंड समाप्त होगा, अपने आप को वैक्सीनेट करा लें और इसी प्रकार से फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स भी 6 मार्च के मॉक-अप राउंड से पहले अपने आप को वैक्सीनेट करा लें.
Vaccinations for the general public are expected to begin during the 2nd or 3rd week of March. 27 crore such people will get vaccinated who are either above the age of 50 or below 50 and have comorbidities. In New Delhi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Moving to our other big headline, well, after 5 days of police custody, 22-year-old climate activist Disha Ravi has now been sent to 3 days of jail by a Delhi court who agreed to a Delhi police plea.
In their arguments asking for judicial custody, the police claimed they needed to confront Disha with another activist, Shantanu Muluk, also a co-accused in this case. The public prosecutor on behalf of the Delhi police today stated in the court that Disha Ravi during the course of interrogation not only tried to dodge the questions but also shifted the blame on Nikita and Shantanu. The court agreed to the police request for 3 days in jail, despite Disha's lawyers arguing that the police has no evidence. Lawyer of Disha Ravi, while arguing against the extension of custody, today claimed that the case diary filed by the police to the court was loosely made and there was no ground for the court to take cognizance. The court, however, did respond to Disha's plea against 3 news channels to stop one-sided reporting of her case. The court said, the media cannot disseminate information in a sensationalized manner. Editors of the accused media houses have to ensure that proper editorial control is exercised while disseminating information to ensure investigation is not hampered. Delhi police will strictly abide by the affidavit filed today, where they deny leaking any investigation material contained in the first information report to the media and amateur advisory on media policy of police. The court also directed Disha Ravi not to malign the police and other authorities. Disha's bail application will be heard on Saturday by Session Judge in Patiala High Court. With camera person Sanjay Kaushik, Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Well, moving now to our special segment, Newsmaker on the 8 o'clock news. I'm joined tonight by somebody who's been seen as a nation builder, someone who's known as India's metro man, Dr. E. Sridharan. Dr. Sridharan, thank you for being on the news tonight. And you're entering politics now and joining the BJP. Why did you take this decision at 88 years old, or 88 years young, as some would say?
Well, this is a good question. No, hitherto I was very, very busy with my own professional responsibilities. Now, the professional responsibilities are all totally over. I am still keen to do something for the society and particularly for my state, Kerala. And the only way is entering into politics, I find, because I don't want to take any more professional responsibilities at this age. That's the reason I decided to join.
But Dr. Sridharan, it's interesting that you chose the BJP because in your state, Kerala, the BJP only has one MLA. It's not a political party which is very prominent in Kerala. It's not the main ruling party or the opposition. Do you think you'll be able to build a party like the BJP which isn't prominent in your state, unlike, say, North India or other parts of India?
I am fully aware of this. But there is some very good reasons why I decided to choose BJP. First and foremost is, in Kerala, there are two other major parties that have been ruling Kerala alternatively, the LDF and the UDF. But during the last 15-20 years, they have not been able to bring any tangible improvement in the state for the quality, to raise the quality of life of the people. Not even one single industry has come to Kerala during the last 20 years. And both the rules are riddled with corruption scandals, all sorts of scandals. I don't want to talk about this very much in this media. And the only way is, and they are all the time fighting with the government of India. You see, fighting with the government of India, you can't expect much cooperation or much assistance from the center. That way the state is losing very badly. Now, BJP, what you said is correct. There's only one MLA today. But I want to change the image and the spread of BJP very much in the state today. Because I personally believe BJP is the right party today. There are no scandals. People are very upright. And they are hardworking. And above all, they are all nation-loving people.
So
that is the one that attracts me to BJP today.
Right. And Dr. Sridharan, also, is it because of Prime Minister Modi that you're joining the BJP? Because you had expressed your admiration for him also earlier before the 2014 elections. Is Prime Minister Modi a reason that you're joining the BJP?
Yes, I have got great admiration for Modi personally. But that alone is not the thing. I have a good rapport with Vajpayee, who was the previous Prime Minister, very good rapport with him. In fact, he only opened the first section of Delhi Metro. I had very close. And his conduct, the way he was behaving was very impressive to me. The man who purchased his own ticket first before traveling the metro train. You see what an example the Prime Minister set. And that is the tradition I expect from the BJP. That sort of uprightness, love for the country, and eager to serve the interests of the country.
That's a fascinating anecdote that Prime Minister Vajpayee had actually bought his metro ticket before he actually took a ride on it. But tell me, sir, already in the 24 hours since you announced that you're entering politics, you're facing a strong criticism with people saying, oh, that in Delhi you opposed women getting free tickets on the metro, that you've criticized the bullet train, you've said it's too expensive, and various other allegations being made against you. Are you ready for this criticism? You need a thick skin to be in politics.
Now, these sort of allegations will come. Most of the allegations are being raised for their own sake, I find, not to correct me. So I will take it in the correct spirit, and I will also respond it in the correct way. That I will do.
Dr. Sridharan, you said also that you are ready to fight the elections, that you're ready to be the BJP's face in Kerala. You don't think it will be tiring to fight elections at 88 and taking on this responsibility?
You see, I don't intend fighting election the way politicians are generally doing, having a big yada and then all sorts of noise and things like that. This is not the way. I want to reach the heart of every voter, tell him what I intend doing and what they can expect out of me, and tell them that if only you are satisfied, vote for me, otherwise don't. My style of campaigning will be entirely different.
I think that's a nice way to put it. If you're satisfied, vote for me, otherwise don't. I don't think any politician would really say that. But also, Dr. Sridharan, the allegations or the point being raised really about that the BJP comes under strong criticism for what people say are its policies like love jihad, that they create Hindu-Muslim communal tension. Is that something you could actually support or stand for? Do you feel, what is your view on charges that the BJP is a communal party who has communal policies like love jihad?
Now, that is one thing I am very, very particular. The BJP is being painted like a communal party today in the country. And it is actually, according to me, it is not, because I have got such a long association with people in the BJP. It is not a communal party at all. It is a party consisting of national lovers and who definitely will accept that all parties, all communities, all regions are alike as far as they are concerned. That is the attitude of Modi government. I can see the way he speaks. I have never seen him at any time attacking any religion. Mm-hmm. This religious bias has been unnecessarily brought onto the BJP very unjustly, according to me.
So you're saying it's unjust, Dr. Sridharan, but the point is that BJP state governments have actually passed laws against what they call love jihad, which, I mean, in many ways hasn't been proved at all. Even in Kerala, for instance, we've seen that the BJP makes the issue of eating beef a major issue, even when in Kerala beef is eaten commonly, even by Hindus. So would you support these policies? Do you believe that there is love jihad, or do you believe that people should not eat beef?
No, personally, I am a very, very strict vegetarian. I don't even eat even eggs. So certainly, I don't like anybody eating meat. That is certain. And love jihad, yes. I see what is happening in Kerala, how Hindus are being tricked into marriage, and how they suffer this. Not only Hindus, the Christian girls are being tricked into marriage. Now, that sort of thing, certainly we will oppose.
Right. Well, Dr. Sridharan, as I said, at 88 years old, you're entering politics. Are you looking forward to this new innings in life?
I'm quite enthusiastic. Enthusiastic not for my own sake. That I want to very much emphasize. It is not from any particular any rewards or honor or anything for me. It is an opportunity to serve the people of Kerala. Mm-hmm. I take it that way. And for that, I may have to suffer some humiliations. I may have to suffer something. I'm prepared to do it. It's all in the game.
Right. Well, Dr. Sridharan, I think that there are many who are great admirers of your work as, I said, an institution builder. Politics, of course, now a completely different game, but all the very best. And thank you for joining us on the news tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.